All right, you guys, this is going to be a really special night. I'm super excited to be here with you all. Per usual, we're going to run through some announcements. Then we're going to be chatting with my friend over here, Miss MacKenzie, who has been helping me change my life. And I'm really excited for her to bring some of her information and knowledge to you. And obviously, we can do Q&A kind of thing afterwards with her, do that kind of stuff. And then if you guys want, she does do like actual like gut and hormone health coaching stuff, which is kind of what she's doing with me. So I know I've referred a few of you to her already, but if that's something that does interest you and you want to get a hold of her for that, we can go over that at the end as well. So we'll go ahead and get running with these announcements real quick. All assessments are complete for the week per usual. The next challenge, be on the lookout next week, if we're just going to be totally honest, right? It's probably happening next week. Just be ready. But the cool thing is remember, the challenges do not mean that you need to be perfect during the challenge. It's all about staying consistent with that daily doing better and learning the healthy lifestyle, right? So if you have some of your kids' Halloween candy, does not mean that you are out of the challenge, right? It's totally fine if you have a Reese's peanut butter cup. It's going to be okay. But just want to make sure that you guys are well aware, ready to rock and roll with that. I will definitely do an announcement as soon as this is officially out and ready to rock and roll. I do have another special announcement for you guys that maybe you didn't know about. I am releasing a new cookbook on Sunday, on the 1st. It's going to be a digital download, just like the other three. But the one thing about this that I'll be totally like obviously transparent about is what we did is we took the 52 recipes from the last 52 weeks of this last year, and compiled them into a cookbook format. So if you are in the Facebook group, you have access to all of these already, but we put them into a cookbook format because I know sometimes those get like gerbled around in there and kind of crazy in all of the albums. So we put them into that. So if you guys want them all in one place, I know some of you like to print them out and like make them pretty and put them in your kitchens and stuff. Like, perfect. Go for it. It'll be available on the website that day. I'll do another announcement when that's coming, but yay for those things. Let's see, new habit boards begin next week. So they will be linked on my website for all 9 weeks. So do like a week 0 and then the 8 weeks after. And they will also be linked up in the group every single Sunday for the upcoming week. So be on the lookout for our new habit boards. And then please continue to share about the group in the app as you see fit. That is always super helpful, especially things like this episode. It's going to be totally epic. So if you learned something tonight, this episode will be released on this coming Sunday. Please share it with somebody, put it on your story, link it in, send it to a friend, text it, whatever, because the more that we can get this knowledge out there, the better that you are going to feel, the better that you're going to do, and the better that those around you are going to do too. All the good things. So without further ado, I really cut down on our announcements tonight because we have Miss MacKenzie Brehian here. So she is a Legionnaire coach, just like I am with First Form. Obviously, you guys know at this point, like we all kind of have our own niches that we like specialize in. And Kenzie's fantastic. And I reached out to her because I just had this ongoing struggle with hormone and gut health, as so many of you know, and did all the things that I could think of that I knew of to do. And she offered her assistance. So I'll let you kind of go, introduce yourself, why you got what your education is, tell them about you.
Yeah, so like Nikki, I've been working with First Form since 2018. I am also like we've got our own little team over here in Team BTO, and originally got into nutrition coaching and things like that. I was actually diagnosed with a chronic GI disease back when I was 16 years old, and essentially had to relearn how to eat and manage this chronic GI disease. It's called it's gastroparesis, which is partial stomach paralysis. So had to relearn how to eat and fuel my body for that. Essentially, they had told me, hey, you are going to be in and out of the hospital for the rest of your life. Like, this is what you can expect. And I was like, bet this is not happening. And so learned how to fuel my body with this chronic GI disease through a lot of research, a lot of trial and error, and It's what really sparked my love for nutrition. And it took them years to figure out what was going on. I was essentially a human pincushion for many years. And I would have people tell me, I don't know, it's normal, it's normal, it's normal. And eventually went to a couple like functional medicine doctors and worked with them. And they were like, what you have going on and your continued suffering is not normal. And it was working with them that really sparked my interest in going back to school to help people not have to experience what I went through, where you go to a conventional medicine doctor and you feel like absolute garbage. Like you are fatigued, you're bloated, your digestion is here, there, and everywhere. Your cycles are 50 shades of crazy, and you get your labs done and someone's like, oh, you're normal. And you're like, excuse me, what? Like, this is not normal whatsoever. Like all of this going on is not normal. And I know there's something wrong. And that's what was happening to me. So I actually ended up going back to school, got my master's degree in clinical nutrition, specializing in women's health and gut health. So absolutely love being able to help people get to the root cause of their digestive issues, of their hormone issues, and really work to put those pieces together and heal your body from the inside out through food, supplementation, and lifestyle modifications. So that is me in like a 2-minute nutshell.
So many nutshells, right? Oh, it's so crazy. Okay, so now I wanted to just kind of jump in because a lot of these people, like, they have been on my calls before, so they know what I kind of know. So I wanted you to kind of explain from your standpoint how gut and hormones are actually tied together, because one absolutely affects the other. And I want people to understand that they are not, single entities.
Yeah. So it's a really interesting system. Like I like to tell everybody that your health really it starts in your gut, because your gut communicates with every single organ system in your body. And I don't know if Nikki has explained what is called the gut-brain axis. So essentially what our gut does is our gut communicates with our brain, and our brain communicates with the rest of our body. And what most people are led to believe is that your brain sends more signals down to your gut than your gut sends up to your brain, which is actually couldn't be farther from the truth. So essentially, you have a 9-lane highway that goes from your gut up to your brain. You have a 1-lane highway that goes from your brain down to your gut, called your vagus nerve. And so you have a lot more communication going up from your gut to your brain than you do from your brain down to your gut. So why this is so important is because the bacteria that you have in your gut is what is responsible for that communication. Because when you are essentially getting rid of your hormones, you're detoxifying your hormones, your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone. There are 2 ways that it's going to get out of your body. You're either going to pee it out or you're going to poop it out. And when you excrete those hormones from your body, your bacteria read those types of things. And it'll send signals to your brain saying, hey, I need more estrogen. Hey, I need more progesterone. We're not making enough testosterone down here. And there's a specific group of bacteria in your gut that will read these things. And if you don't have enough of these bacteria, number one, you cannot communicate with your brain that you need more estrogen, more progesterone, more testosterone. And number two, if your gut is inflamed, you can't actually read those things passing through your gut. So if you don't have the right types of bacteria because you have an imbalance in your bacteria, say too much bad bacteria, not enough good bacteria, or you don't have the specific types of bacteria, they're called estrobolomes, that actually read those estrogen metabolites, you can't communicate from your gut to your brain what types of hormones your body actually needs. So when it comes to the link between your gut and your hormone health, is your gut is going to determine essentially the levels at which your hormones are produced. Second thing to that is, what does it take to make hormones? Your hormones are fat-based. So your hormones need vitamins and minerals to essentially, you take fat, and you use vitamins and minerals to create what is called estrogen. You use fat and create testosterone. Well, if your gut isn't healthy enough to actually digest, absorb, and utilize your fats, your vitamins, and your minerals, you can't actually create estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So it's kind of twofold, where your gut's going to tell your brain, hey, I need more estrogen, progesterone, testosterone down here, but it can't make enough estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone if your gut's inflamed and you can't actually absorb the nutrients that you need to be able to produce those hormones as well.
Ooh, such a better explanation than what I gave them. It's so much more detailed.
It's a little practice, a little practice.
A little bit more studying. I'm getting there. Okay, no, that was incredible. Okay, makes a ton of sense. I'm learning all the things too. Okay, so now something that I did want to touch on as well, which this could be a whole separate call, but the most common gut health killers or disruptors. What's your top 5?
I would say number 1 is going to be like your packaged and your processed foods is going to be number 1. And for a couple different reasons is, 1, you have those simple digesting sugars, like those simple digesting sugars, the added sugars, like the simple carbohydrates and things like that. Your bad bacteria in your gut flourish on those things. So when you are giving your body those simple digesting carbohydrates, you're giving the bad bacteria in your gut the opportunity to just grow and like run rampant, outgrow your good bacteria and lead to either dysbiosis or inflammation. The second thing to that is going to be the partially hydrogenated oils that are in those packaged and those processed foods. So the partially hydrogenated oils going to be things like, typically it will say like hydrogenated oil on the package if you look at it. But things like palm oil and even some vegetable oils and canola oils, they basically what they do is they poke little holes in your gut lining, and they have the ability to permeate your intestinal lining, which your gut bacteria essentially create like this biofilm around them to protect them. And they poke little holes in that biofilm to get to your bacteria and can actually alter your gut microbiome by being able to access them. And then the last thing with those packaged and those processed foods is a lot of times they will also have artificial sweeteners. So the way that I like to think about it, I am not like, you can't have sucralose. You can't have any of these artificial sweeteners. I'm like, enjoy your sucralose and those things in moderation. Like, there is no proof that they cause cancer, that they are going to like completely destroy your gut microbiome. There is no proof of that. Enjoy them in moderation. But what I do try to avoid as often as possible is going to be the sugar alcohols. So it's going to be the ones that end in like OL. So like xylitol, mannitol. Reason being is those have actually been proven to kill off good bacteria in your gut. So things like sucralose, monk fruit, stevia, like have those things. Awesome. But as often as possible, trying to avoid those artificial sweeteners that end in like -OL or like xylitol, mannitol, those types of things, because they have actually been proven when consumed in high amounts to kill off good bacteria in your gut, which again is going to allow for those bad bacteria to just like run rampant. So that is why I would say like my number 1 is going to be your packaged and your processed foods when it comes to like food choices. And kind of following suit to that is going to be like your sugared beverages. So whether it's you're going and getting like a fully leaded coffee from Starbucks, not like the macro-friendly versions, or you're having like a fully leaded Coca-Cola or fruit juice or any of those types of things. Enjoy them every once in a while. Like, I am a huge proponent of everything in moderation, but the amount of sugar that is in any of those types of drinks, like I said, your good bacteria runs rampant on those things because they're very easily digested by your bacteria, and your bacteria use those sugars as essentially fuel to continue to like thrive and flourish and continue to reproduce. So that would probably be my number two. Is number one is going to be your packaged and your processed foods. Number two is going to be your super sugary drinks. And kind of going away from food would be like poorly managed stress, whether it's stress from over exercising or a sedentary lifestyle, or just the fact that you do experience a lot of stress in your day-to-day life. Because one thing that stress does, and the way I like to describe it to people is when your body is in a state of stress, you're in this fight or flight mode. The last thing you want when you're trying to run away from a bear is like, hey, can you like stop chasing me for 5 seconds? Like, I really need to go to the bathroom. Like I'm about to lose it. Like it's going to be real bad. So you're essentially, when you're stressed, your digestive system shuts down. And it is going to make your digestion really slow. And when your digestion is slow, it actually gives your body the opportunity to really feed on the food that is sitting in your digestive system, because it's going to be sitting there longer. So again, your bad bacteria has the opportunity to overgrow. So if I had to say like my top three when it comes to gut health is going to be like minimizing your packaged and your processed foods, minimizing like your sugary ingredients as much as possible, whether that's baked goods or sugary drinks, and then poorly managed stress are my top three.
Totally fair. Super interesting. The first time that you told me about the blood going away from the gut when you get stressed out, I'm like, oh, no wonder.
It all makes sense. That's where the constipation's coming from.
That's why I can't do anything. That makes so much sense. Okay, so I mean, I guess kind of going along with that, we already kind of talked about the main causes of like gut health killers, which is going to be the same thing that causes hormone issues. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Would you put different things in there?
It's a little bit different because I mean, the other thing you have to look at as far as like hormone disruptors is like, honestly, they're all around us. So any type of like toxin. So the way I like to think about it is like even environmental toxins, those can be hormone disruptive. And a reason being is because they have these compounds in them. So environmental toxins, like you'll see water bottles that are all like BPA free, and your meal prep containers BPA free, like little things like that, toxins that you can get from environment, toxins that you can get from plastics, toxins that you can even get from cleaning ingredients, and the scents in your candles, like the craziest things. But they act in a very similar way, and what I call them is they're bioidentical to estrogen. So when you get these environmental toxins, is they essentially bind to your cells in the way that estrogen will, telling your body, hey, I don't need to produce any more estrogen. So then your body gets these signals that you're actually producing estrogen when you're not. You're not getting any of the health benefits of estrogen. You're just getting these toxins that are binding to your cells, telling you that you have estrogen when in fact you don't. So I would say yes, that the same things that we talked about as far as like gut health disruptors are obviously going to disrupt your hormones. But one thing that I do tack on when it comes to hormones is going to be those environmental toxins, which can also have an issue when it comes to gut health as well. So
yeah, they all go together. That's for sure. And I mean, I gotta say, like, obviously stress is a big one. This is kind of like what we were leading into, like how stress directly affects digestion. Like we already went over, like if a bear's chasing you, you're not going to stop to take a poop. Like that's just not going to work well. So, but aside from that, things that are stressful in life. Like I know for me, for instance, we've gone through all my craziness. Okay. So for one, I was over exercising for way too long and just stressed about life for way too long. So that was like the initial, like, check, she's screwed up. But then I've been eating in a deficit, honestly, for the majority of the last 6 years. Right. So I mean, you were honest with me. You're like, so are you actually eating enough? And then I was like, no, probably not. So I started increasing things and oh my God, look at that. I got stronger. My period came back. Like, so talk on that, maybe just a smidge, like, how different types of life stressors can affect things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one thing we had talked on is obviously the fact that like when you're in a state of stress is your body is in this fight or flight mode. Your body does not, it's going to essentially take blood and it sends it to organ systems that your body needs to run away from a bear. So you're diverting like your blood and your nutrients away from your digestive system, and it's going to not function at a very high level so that you're not running away from a bear and like, yo, I gotta poop, like we gotta stop, this is a bad idea, like can we pump the brakes on this? But the other thing that happens under a state of stress is it, similarly to like with your food choices, gives the bad bacteria an opportunity to grow, and it leads to gut inflammation. And I was actually reading a paper on the effects of your exercise on your gut microbiome. And when you are exercising, and when you are exercising at a really high level for a consistent amount of time, which I believe me, I've fallen suit to this one as well. Like I absolutely love CrossFit, and I had to step back from CrossFit because I was like, okay, this is not doing well for my gut, and ended up taking, did a GI effects test, which essentially measures your gut bacteria. And there were a whole lot of my bad bacteria that were freaking through the roof. And it's because when you are under that state of stress, not only does it slow down your digestion, but it leads to inflammation in the digestive tract. It leads to increased risk of leaky gut. And it also leads to those the opportunity for those bad bacteria to flourish because your food is just sitting in your gut. And when your food is sitting in your gut and it's not moving through your gut's not just going to be like, oh, I got my fill. They're going to be like, no, your bacteria are like, gimme, 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 because they just want to keep growing. They want to keep growing. And once those bad bacteria, and there are certain bad bacteria that once they start to overgrow, they essentially beat out all of the good bacteria, and your good bacteria, like they're like, I don't want to deal with this bully, and they start to go away. So the bad bacteria, once they start to overgrow, actually start killing off the good bacteria, which then allows them to continue to grow because your food's just sitting there. So when you're constantly in this state of stress, you are slowing down your digestion, you're leading to increased inflammation, you're increasing your likelihood of experiencing leaky gut, and you're allowing those bad bacteria to grow, to run rampant, and to also kill off those good bacteria present in your gut.
Essentially, I mean, we didn't do gut testing on me, right? But like, I can't wait to hear on the results of the Dutch, but like, I'm pretty sure I had leaky gut. Like it had to be the case, especially with the protocols you put me on and how much it helped. Like it had to be that.
Yeah.
Like you guys, I sent Kinsey pictures and it was like, I had a 6-pack this morning, dude. It looks like I'm 6 months pregnant. There is something not right with this. And it's so painful. So it's been amazing how much life has changed. Like sincerely, I messaged her today. I was like, things are moving correctly. Like my cycle did not last 56 days to its time. Like amazing. So amazing there. Okay, so now best stress reduction practices. You've walked me through like 3 or 4. I've shared those with a lot of these people, but maybe give them a couple of your favorites and that would maybe be good.
Yeah. One thing I will target with a lot of people is stress reduction around meals, because this is a really big one and it's very low hanging fruit for a lot of people. Is we live in a very fast paced society, like very go, 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 go. I bet you if I asked every single one of you guys, like how often do you sit down at your kitchen table and eat a meal, and just like focus on the food that you are eating and you put your fork down in between meals? Or how many of you guys sit at the table and you shove your food in your face as quickly as possible because you need to get your kids on the bus ASAP, or you're drinking a protein shake or eating a sandwich in your car because you need to get your kids to practice or whatever it might be? 98% of us are going to be option 2. And when you are eating that like rapidly and your body is go, 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 guess what we're activating? We're activating that fight or flight response. So if we can instead activate that rest and digest system before you eat, you're actually going to put your body in a better position to digest your food. So one thing that I find to be incredibly beneficial is before I eat is I will literally sit here and take 3 really big deep breaths. And I'm not just talking like, I'm talking like we're going to sit here. You're going to put your hands on your belly. You're going to breathe in through your belly for 4. And if you're doing it right, I say like put your hands on your belly, put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. If you feel your chest moving, it is not a belly breath. You should feel your stomach like expand to the point that it is almost painful. And you're going to hold it there for 4 seconds. And then you are going to breathe out completely for 4 seconds. And then you're going to hold it for 4 seconds before you take another breath. And taking those big, deep breaths basically puts your body in a more relaxed state and is going to activate that rest and digest system. So switching your body from that stressed fight or flight mode to that rest and digest system to put your body in a state of being less stressed around meal times to help you to better digest your foods. That one is going to be like my number one for anybody that is experiencing any type of digestion issues. Number 2, and this one is going to kind of be a twofold one as well. And I know this is something that Nikki does very regularly and something that is like real hot topic, is deliberate cold exposure is one of my favorite ways to help reduce stress, reduce anxiety, but it also helps to improve vagal toning. And what that means is I talked on your vagus nerve is what is going from your brain down to your gut, and it controls your digestion. And what activates your vagus nerve is actually, there are quite a few things, but deliberate cold exposure is one of my favorites because it does help with recovery, reducing inflammation, anxiety, mental health, so many different things. But doing deliberate cold exposure, and honestly, one of the fastest ways to do it, if you don't have access to a cold shower or a cold plunge, both of those are really great options. But one way to actually stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is that rest and digest, is by activating what's called like the diver's response, where you are forcing your body to essentially like hold your breath by taking a bowl of ice cold water and shoving your face in it for like 60 to 90 seconds and forcing your body to like hold your breath for that 60 to 90 seconds actually is known to stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest system, and also helps to improve your vagus nerve activation. So it's also going to in turn improve your digestion. So that's probably like my second one. It looks really funny. And when your significant other walks into the kitchen and is like, what on sweet earth are you doing sticking your face in a bowl full of water? You're like, I'm just trying to improve my digestion over here. Like, step off. Okay. I'm trying to reduce some stress, trying to improve my digestion. That would be probably number 2. And then for the number 3 would be deliberate sun exposure first thing in the morning. So it's also going to be really helpful in improving your circadian rhythm, but there are so many studies to show that getting sunlight, like 5 minutes of sunlight, especially like don't wear your sunglasses, go outside. You want sunlight in your eyes because it helps to regulate your circadian rhythm, which is something I know that Nikki is really big on. But that vitamin D is something that is so instrumental for your mental health. Just sitting outside, whether you are someone that does morning coffee, or if you are like me and Nikki and you are a megawatt type of person, like take your megawatt outside, sip it on the porch, and just like listen to the birds, listen to like the wind and the trees and all of those things for like 5, 10, 15 minutes, and really just help to like ground yourself first thing in the morning.
Love that. By the way, Kenzie lives in Arizona, so it's much warmer there all the time. Right now in the morning, it might be 40 here. So it's not so
it's not as nice.
It's so nice. Like, let me grab a blanket and snuggle.
I was like, it's nice in the morning here. When we get to midday, it's still like 95. I'm like, yeah, you can hit the road. Like, I'm done with that.
Yeah, I know. It's supposed to be 90 here tomorrow. I'm like, what do we do week? Anyway, the last question that I kind of have here, aside from the one that's in the comments, is about hair loss. And I know that I went through like a mass, like that's why I went from bleach blonde and down to my butt hair to brown and up to my shoulders, which this works better anyway.
Yeah.
But hair loss, hair breakage, all of that, you had said nutrient deficiency and hormone imbalance can lead to that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So typically, if I mean, depending on someone else's, like what else their symptoms might be, one of the first things I go to when it comes to hair loss is like, hey, have you had your thyroid checked? Because when you have an imbalance in your, you have an underactive thyroid, one of the number one things outside of fatigue that does show like you have an underactive thyroid is going to be hair loss. Now, second thing to that, and where we can tie this into gut health, is if you're not getting in enough protein, if you're not getting in enough biotin, if you're not getting in enough zinc, all three, oh, and omega-3s, all three of those, or four of those, are going to lead to hair loss as well. And there are also different things that when one test that I love to do in people that are experiencing regular hair loss, if they are getting their tests done and they have known hyper or hypothyroidism or Graves' disease or Hashimoto's or any of those types of things, is I like to do a NutrEval test. So essentially what that does is it goes in and it measures your vitamin C levels, your vitamin D levels, your vitamin B12, and it measures all of your vitamin and mineral levels in your body. And it essentially is going to tell you, okay, you're not getting in, or you're getting in way too much of this vitamin or this mineral, and it's completely blocking this pathway, which is why your thyroid is so underactive while it's reading normal. Okay, well, maybe your TSH isn't normal or your T4 isn't normal because this pathway is completely blocked because you're getting too much or too little of this one thing. So typically, if I have someone that does experience any type of hair loss, I will either look at their thyroid, two, looking at their health, going back to the nutrient absorption aspect of things. If your gut isn't healthy enough to digest, absorb, and utilize protein, zinc, biotin, and omega-3s, your hair is going to fall out. Or if you're not getting in enough nutrients because you've been in a consistent calorie deficit, or you're just not absorbing your nutrients in general, you're not going to have the nutrients that you need to actually be able to maintain your hair. When I was in the hospital with all of my chronic GI stuff, I was literally pulling my hair out by the fistful because I was so malnourished. So it comes down to, what is the health of your gut? Are you actually absorbing the foods that you are eating? And that's something that we can look at. And third thing to that is going in and looking at a NutrEval. Well, is there something that you're not getting enough of, or you're getting too much of, that is blocking a certain pathway? So, well, I know a lot of people will say when you are losing hair, first thing they'll look at is your thyroid. Of course, that's going to be the first thing that I look at. But if you have a known thyroid disease and you're on medication for it, then there's something else going on that's leading to that hair loss.
Super interesting stuff. Okay. So, Jenna had in the comments, thinking about the stress and gut relationship, anxiety would likely cause a state of stress and connect with the increase of bacteria growing. Yes, and thus causing digestion problems.
Yes.
Okay.
And the interesting thing with that is the link between gut health and anxiety. It's a very, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because we have to take a second to think about what is causing that anxiety. And about 80% of people that have anxiety have some type of either gut inflammation, dysbiosis, or leaky gut, or something like that. And this is like, I've read that in a handful of papers. And reason being is about 60 to 70% of your hormone serotonin is produced in your gut. So if your gut is unhealthy and you're not producing enough serotonin, you don't have that like happy hormone to be able to combat what is going on in your brain, like that chemical imbalance that is causing you to feel anxious and not be able to manage your emotions on a day-to-day basis. So then that's going to cause a greater state of stress, which then cycles down to your gut and leads to a greater imbalance in your gut. And it's just this like negative feedback loop. So if you can really work to improve and restore your gut health, that anxiety itself actually may start to improve.
Makes so much sense. Yes. Yes. Well, I know you've talked to Jenna a little bit too. So one of the referrals, I don't know how many people I've sent your way so far. And on that note, okay, so aside from like asking questions, if you guys have any, if you want to put in the chat, like how people can find you
Yeah.
for like, if they want to follow you or if they want to like reach out about potential gut and
Yeah,
hormone help, because Kenzie and I are willing to like tag team people.
absolutely.
And work together because her specialty is going to be able to help you guys fill in those special gaps the way that I couldn't fill them myself. If you have something specific going on and you want to reach out and talk to her, then, give her a follow, reach out to her, and like legitimately, like it's amazing what she's capable of helping with. So
I will also grab a link for if you guys ever want to schedule like a discovery call. They all like anybody, like you will get a free like 15-minute discovery call that I can drop a link for here as well. That I dropped my Instagram for you guys. If you guys ever have any questions, and Nikki, you can honestly hand out my phone number if you want to, like doesn't make a difference to me. I am more than willing to have you guys text me as well. But I will grab a link for my discovery call if you guys want to ever book one of those.
perfect. Yeah, like Elise just put in the chat with the gut issues with autoimmune. I think this would be a great avenue to get some more specifics because I know I know quite a bit, honestly, in comparison to like the normal person, but Kenzie's gonna be able to like really dial it in, and then we can work together and I can help like follow up and all the things. It's been great doing that so far with whom you've taken on. So, all right, you guys. It's been a plethora of knowledge. Thank you so much, Kenzie, for tonight. Hopefully, somebody takes something away from this. I'm sure that they will. That's been helpful or just like insightful. If you guys need anything, reach out to me, reach out to Kenzie. We will help you as a team. And thank you again so much for how you've helped me and for how I'm sure you will help so many of these amazing people. So much
No, thank
from
you.
Iowa.
I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity. It has been so fun to be able to help you feel like healthy and feel well. Like that is my goal for every single person that I work with, is because I understand how frustrating, like not understanding what is going on in your body. I understand how frustrating that is. And it's my goal with anybody that I work with is to really understand why it's happening so that we can fix why it's happening so that it doesn't come back and we're not just putting any more band-aids on it. So
Yep, we are not Band-Aid people. We want to fix it. So yes. Awesome. All right, girl. Well, I'm sure I'll be chatting with you soon. Thank you all so much for everything. And check out the podcast on Sunday. Be sure to share it. So bye, everybody. Talk to you later.
bye guys.